Hello students, welcome to Aristotle classes. In today's video, we will try to understand the theories and challenges of peace and conflict. As you must be know that peace and conflict is related to international relations, but today we feel that it do not only belong to international relations only. It is national issue. It is individual issues as well. So peace and conflict starts with an individual and goes up to international and global levels. So we will try to understand what is peace building, what are the challenges to the peace, what are conflict theories, what are the morals, principles are there about peace in our scriptures and religious scriptures, what the scholars have said, and then we will try to understand the peace movements. So let's get started. This is what we talk about. So first of all, theories of peace building. So let's start with the definition of peace. What we generally understand about peace is that peace is absent of direct violence. Uh, there is no war. There is ceasefire. There is surface level stability. All these things we understand as peace, but this is not true. This is peace, but this is negative peace, according to Johann Galton. Galton says the positive peace is presence of justice. There should not be only absence of war. There should be justice as well. There should be social equality and human rights for all. There should be functional institutions. There should be addressal of root causes of conflicts. So all these things makes the comprehensive, actual positive peace what we talk about. This is the theory of Johann Galtung about negative and positive peace. So, as we know that the world is right now is having direct violences. First of all, the world is not stable. The world is not under peace. If we want to have peace, first of all, we have to end the wars. We have to end the armed conflicts. Then we have to work for inclusive justice. We have to provide human rights. We have to address the root causes of all the conflicts. I'm sorry. This is what peace actually is. Now, what Martin Luther King Jr. said about peace, that peace is not absence of conflict, but presence of justice as well. Now, what is peace? More than absence of war, it is presence of justice, equality, and human rights. And as now, peace building in international relations, peacekeeping is a short-term military operation. That if there is instability anywhere, so different nations tries to keep the peace. It's a short-term military action. Peace building, on the contrary, is a long-term process to make sure that the peace is sustainable and it lasts long. So, on international levels, there are efforts of peacekeeping and peace building, and this is seen on the individual levels as well. If there is any conflict or quarrel uh, in our circles, in our friend groups, or in our families, first we try to calm that down. So that is peacekeeping. Then we try to negotiate with both the parties, and we try that they live with peace, they resolve their conflict. So this is peace building. So peace peace and conflict is nothing very unknown. Nothing is, it's not a rocket science. We live around it on a daily basis. So Johann Galtung is one of the prominent scholar who talks about peace. So he has given his theory of peace, his triangle of violence. What is violence? He says violence are of three types. First is direct violence. Let's say wars, physical harms, and aggression. This is direct violence. Apart from this direct violence, we have two more violences: structural and cultural violences. So, what is structural violence? Structural violence is basically the absence of justice in the society. There is no equality, there is discrimination, there is poverty, etc. This we consider as a structural violence. Whichever devoids the peace, whichever do not is whatever are unjust, all those things comes under structural violence. Talking about cultural violence, cultural violence are basically norms. These are the um, practicing norms by the people which they don't find that these are violences. Like we live in caste based system, like there are honor killings which was justified. Earlier we used to have slavery. Slavery was one of the thing which we could understand that it was a cultural violence, because there was the concept that some peoples are inferior to others, and they can only serve the superior ones. They cannot have their own lives. This comes under cultural violence. There is a culture who believes that something is right doing, but actually that culture is oppressing or uh, committing violence against a group of individuals. This is cultural violence. How structural violence is different from cultural violence? Structural violence, as we see, whenever you see structure, you always think about system or institutions or society as a whole. So when the violence is committed by the whole society, not only on the individual level, this is structural violence. Structure means system. The whole system is designed the way that the violence is committed. Not only one individual cannot commit this. Poverty, discrimination, unequal access to resources, this is a social phenomenon. One person, by any amount of efforts, cannot commit the structural violence. And talking about cultural violence, on the contrary, this can be committed by individual. So these are norms, beliefs, ideologies to justify direct or structural violence. So cultural violence, as I have told you, that slavery. uh, if you talk about what I have told you, that honor killing, somewhere in India, in some parts of India, it is believed that it is justified to kill your daughter or your son to protect your own dignity if they are destroying it. So this is the thing. So what Galton talks about positive peace, that positive peace is social justice, equity, and human rights. So this is the theory of Johann Galtung. Johann Galtung has given the ABC method as well, that you have to address the root cause of the conflict, unless you won't be able to resolve that. Moving on, now we are trying to understand the approaches for peace building. How can we build peace? And I have told you that peace building is what? Peace building, long term process of building sustainable peace. Long term. So this is not peacekeeping. We are trying to change the system, the structure, for long term peace. Now, coming to the major three approaches of peace building. Basically, they are going to tell you that how we can establish peace for a longer period of time. So first, start with liberal approach. Whenever you say liberal, you connect with two things: first, institutions; second, democracy. Whenever see you two words, Liberal comes from liberty, which comes from freedom, freedom of everything. How will you have freedom? When you will have democracy and institutions to protect your rights, your life, and democracy to give you voice. So just make it clear, liberal means democracy and institutions. So in the West they have come up with a great institution which is known as democracy. So the democracy, they find the solution of all the problems. First, make institutions, make independent, efficient institutions like Supreme Court, Federal Court, Parliament, Election Commission, etc., and implement democracy in that place. Then you will have also free market, and by this you will have rule of law. Why? Because institutions are free, independent, so they are not running on a traditional biased basis. They are not they are not running on a religious basis, on any caste lines. They are independent, they are working on their own reason. Then if they are doing anything wrong, we have democracy that people can correct them. So we have institutions working well, means the society is running well. Then you have, for your progress, you have free market. You can produce whatever you want, you can sell them on whatever prices you decide. So this is what liberal approach says about peace. If this happens, that you are ma- uh, making good institutions, strong institution, you are implementing democracy, you are providing free markets, there is rule of law, then there is a very less chances of conflict in those places. Just just take out the map and try to highlight the areas where all this is going on, where there are good institutions, there is democracy, there is free market, like Europe. So in the major part of Europe, there are democracies, there are institutions, there is free market. So they are not fighting more. Earlier they used to fight on various grounds, like but since they have established institutions and democracy, they are not fighting uh, on that on that degree. So this all started with Kant, Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher, who said that a person, an individual, should be treated as end, not as means, which means that all individual should be given freedom, justice, equality. Who will give that? Democracy will give that. And he also says that democratic states don't find much. He didn't say that democratic states don't fight at all. He says that democratic institutions or states fight less, because you know uh, if there will be representation, if there will be deliberation, the chances of miscommunication reduces, the chances of ego clashes reduces, and the better solutions comes in. So this is liberal approach. So I have told you, I'm repeating it, that whenever you see a word liberal, connect it with democracy and institutions. What liberal thinks about it? Liberals are those who believes that there should be institutions, independent institution, there should be democracy, so that everyone can voice, everyone can raise their voice, everyone can have the freedom of dissent, that this is not going wrong, this is not going right, you have to do it uh, mm, in a proper manner. So this is a liberal approach. If any country is pursuing the liberal approach, that means the people of that country are having good voice. So if a country can raise its voice, citizens can raise their voices, so the uh, there will be movements, but ultimately conflicts will be resolved, conflicts will not be suppressed. So this is the thing about liberal approach. Now coming to structuralist approach. A structure is structural. A structuralist approach is given by John Galton. John Galton said that uh, you know this making democracy, giving free market, making institutions is not enough in a society. If you want uh, to establish peace, you have to address the root cause of the conflicts, and the root cause of the conflict are social and economic inequalities. So you have to solve these two. Until you cannot have a sustainable peace. So you must address poverty, injustice, oppression, all these things you have to address. This is what structural uh, peace is. So, yes, you need democracy, you need institutions, but after that, you need structural transformations as well. You have to break the conventional structures of the society. Structure, mind the term structure. Structure means system, systemic. So the structure means uh, the very framework of the society is like that, that inherently it promotes, or the occurrence of violence becomes natural. But you have to go away from that. Okay, you have to go away from that, and you have to solve these problems. So these are the things. So what Johann Galtung talks about, the last thing about Johann Galtung, he says that yes, stop wars, and after stopping wars, remove injustices. Until there will be a very great order of justice in the world, there will not be peace. So to establish peace in the world, in the society, in any group, you have to provide justice. Like, talk about the global level. Earlier we used to have colonialism. So the UK, France, Portugal, USA were having societies. I'm sorry, were having colonies all over the world. So they have drained out the wealth from that place and made themselves what? So called developed. They are developed on what cost? At the cost of the other countries. Those who used to have colonies are suffering from major issues like lack of resources, not a very proper institutions. Before the arrival of colonies, before arrival of those colonial leaders, the earlier society used to have their own system. They came and they destroyed the system, and now that state, that those regions are suffering from severe issues. So this is the root cause of what? Of the violences. Although not all the countries fight against this, but if they choose to fight against this, that would then the world would have become mess. So this is the thing, that in the very world order we see on the global level, we have the major injustice done by colonial leaders like Britain, like France, like Portugal. So they claim themselves developed. They are developed, but because of they have done injustice to other countries. Why Asia is suffering? Why Africa is suffering? Because Asia and Africa were used for the development of Europe. This is the thing. So this is Johan Golden talks about that this is the very structure is violent prone. You have to provide justice, and what? How can you provide justice? How will you provide justice? Just address poverty. You know that there is poverty in some part of the world. To you have to do significant and substantial efforts to eliminate, to eradicate the poverty, you have to stop the oppression of minorities, of any communities. You have to empower them by educating them. And what Amar Sen said, says that you have to do capacity building in them. So this is the thing Johan Galton talks about. So first of all, we have studied the liberal approach. Second, we have studied the structuralist approach. Liberal approach says make institutions, establish democracy, give free market, establish rule of law, and you will have peace. On the other hand, structuralist approach of Jon Galtung says that okay, listen, only establishing democracy institutions do not cater the uh, requirement. You have to reduce all these injustices, and once you have controlled these, then only you will have what peace. You have to make structural transformations. Not talking about feminist approach. So feminist approach talks about the lesser representation of uh, female gender in what in peace building talks. It advocates that the the most harm of any war is done to a woman, done to a female, and they are not the part of peace talks. This is very absurd. And and feminist approach also talks about that uh, there is a gender inequality to violence and wars, like at every level, at leadership level, at the level of participation in active participation in war, at the level of strategy making, etc. There are very very much gender inequality. So they do not talk about that include us in the wars and we will fight better. They're talking about include us in peace processes. So where there are women at the leadership position, there are the chances of lesser conflicts because women are better peace builders. This is what they say. This is what the assumptions are. So, and also, we have 50% of the women population, but we do not have more than 5 to 10% of the representation in not only in peace building but at any level. And without inclusion of women in peace, you cannot have a global peace. So, even though you have established democracy, even though you have given, you know, uh, justice, but without the inclusion of women, it is not possible. So feminist theory approach talks about the way women were excluded from every significant aspect of the world. Mm, you know Historically. So in the peace building, women were excluded as well. So include women in peace building, and they will try to add more into it. Now moving on to grassroots and community led peace building. So this is the most effective approach of peace building. So there are two types of peace building. First is top down, second is bottom up. So if you are trying to impose peace, uh, peace somewhere by instructing them, by military actions, by political changes, like we have seen in around India, the neighbors of India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, they all have Myanmar, they all have faced the regime changes. This can be considered as you know one of the uh, instrument of top to bottom peace building efforts. But These top to bottom peace building measures do not last long. If you want sustainable peace, obviously you have to have efforts of all the levels, but the most important is of grassroots level means the people themselves uh, put efforts to establish peace. Means peace comes from within, and whatever comes from within sustain. So this is the thing that there are some example of Rwanda and Northern Ireland, that they have started their own movement, or you know uh, social effort kind of thing, and it resulted into peace. So this is the thing. So if you have to establish long-term peace, all these approaches are well and good, but this is the main approach you must follow. Coming to that, community-led approach. Community is trying to working for sustainable peace. Now this is the comparison of all the four approaches. So just listen to me, that we cannot have only one approach to to establish peace everywhere in the world. We have different societies, we have different cultures in the whole society. Somewhere feminist approach will be fit, somewhere grassroots approach will fit, somewhere structural, somewhere liberal. So these are the subjective things. So we have to address what is the problem of that culture or society, and which kind of, or what kinds of approaches do we have to implement there. Suppose in India, we have to we have to you know uh, implement all these four approaches for peace building. Like, we need better democracy, we need better better markets with equity. That right now we are facing severe wealth concentration. We need free markets so that the wealth concentrated into the hands of few comes into the circulation for the nation. So there will be a resolution of injustice. So we have to make efforts for land reforms. We have to make efforts for what? For wealth decentralization. So this is the addressal of root cause. Not only this, the uh, empowerment of women is also should be there. Also, we have the gram sabhas, the jan sunwais. Like, we have to develop more measures like these. Like, for empowerment of women, we have 33% of women reservation in Lok Sabha. We have to uh, increase that up to 50%. So like this, these are the approaches. There are some criticism about these as well, that the liberal approach ignores this structure. It tries to you know uh, implement or run every society by a single law or single uh, approach, that just do one thing, just make institutions, just establish democracy, and you'll be well and good. No, there are different structure, there are different societies. So we have to address what the respective issues. Talking about this structural approach, it is very slow in nature, but it is most effective, because addressing root cause takes time, and solving that takes more time. So it is slow. The feminist approach can risk of can go into essentialism. Essentialism says that it basically divides that out. But basically it can turn into what we uh, see now is fake feminism, that the root cause remains aside, and the it can be used politically. And grassroots level, although it is the most effective approach, but it is limited, it is not universal. So these are the things about peace building theories. Now take the look at this and let me know if you are having any doubts in the comments, please. Moving on, moving on to challenges of peace building. So, what are the challenges we face for peace building, for sustainable peace? First, we face institutional barriers. Second, we face cultural barriers. Third, external actors are there. And fourth, we face psychological challenges. Why so? Why does peace building fail? Because we do not address the root cause. This is the main thing, actually. What Johann Galtung says, that you must address the root cause for implementation of sustainable peace. So, if you do not address the root cause, the peace does not last long. Okay, one more thing. The peace is often externally imposed to a region, like we have example of Iraq and Afghanistan. The peace, as we have seen in the community led peace building measure, the peace must come from within the people. Then only it will be able to last long. So we have to empower people to live in peace. Not you should not by and let them come with their own uh, measures, with their own techniques of peace building. Do not uh, provide to ready-made approaches to them. They'll find out. First barrier first barrier which obstruct peace is institutional and systematic barrier. If you do not have a strong government, if your governance is having some quality issues, you cannot provide good governance. You have corruption, you have fragile state, you are unable to provide services, uh, you are not providing rule of law, then you cannot have peace, because it all starts with institution, good governance. We have a long back ago, when we talk about social contract theory, why states were made for the security of the people, to protect civilians. And a state, if a state cannot provide security, if a state cannot provide basic services, if a state cannot provide rule of law, then there will be chaos. So take out the map again and point out where there are weak governments, and now point out where there are severe peace building issues. You will find all those all those places, you know those are overlapping. So you have to have strong institutions. You have to have, and strong doesn't mean totalitarian or authoritarian. Strong means institutions which are committed to deliver services, which are committed to enforce rule of law. So the first most thing, you have to have strong government and good governance. Then you have economic inequality. If you have economic inequality somewhere, that means few people are enjoying the resources well, and the remaining ones, which who are more in numbers, they are not getting enough jobs, land, or resources. They will have grievances. They will have uh, they will hesitate, and this will result into instability there. So there should be what? Economic equality. So first you should have strong governance, then you should provide justice, you should reduce poverty. Then it comes that there should not be spoiler groups. There should be, you know, voices, voices. There should be diversity of the voices, but They should not be spoiler groups. If there are the politically motivated groups which are uh, who are just trying to get the power, they they will do anything to gain the power. So they will create the instability. So peace will not be there. If there will be peace, they'll not be in power anyways. So they'll try to make stability, and then it comes what? The violence. So uh, these spoiler groups should be kept out of this. These spoilers groups are funded by the external agencies who doesn't want the peace in your country, or you know anywhere. So you have to be your intelligence agencies must be very strong to mm, to face them. Now systemic inclusion exclusion. So if you do not address the diversity, and if you exclude significant amount of people out of your ambit, so this do not help what for establishing peace. So these are the institutional and systemic barriers. Now we have cultural and psychological challenges. So first talk about cultural challenges. Like in India, we have uh, diversity, like various uh, religions, castes, creeds. Okay, so if we have all these, so this we have diversity of culture, and if we have diversity of culture, so uh, we are having different challenges for our respective cultures. Like religions have different tracks, castes have different tracks, ethnicities have different tracks. So the problems are different for different cultures. They are not same. Okay, but in peace building, we have to come on a common ground, common terms. We should come to resolve the problems on common terms. So uh, if we are having so much diversity, and we do not have in the similar group we have diversity as well. So in the world, how many philosophies are there? The number of persons are there, the same number of philosophies are there. So everyone thinks differently. So we have to understand that there will be differences of cultures, and it is the hardest challenge, because the cultures promote identities, a belongingness, a great belongingness which you cannot get separated of. You have cultural memory for that. You have brought up that way. So this is the thing. So cultural challenges are again again as important as the institutional challenges as well. Now we have psychological barriers. It comes from collective trauma. So basically the whole community carries some trauma, and that thing cannot lead to peace building. Like we have faced the partition of India, so we cannot you know we cannot have peace with Pakistan. This is a psychological barrier. Although we have different differences other than this, but at the time of the partition, the violent clashes happened at that time. Though those memories haunts the people even today. So if we go for peace building with Pakistan, it becomes challenging for us. So, and what happens is, if injustice happen, both the parties claim that they are victims. If both the parties claim they are victims, so there is no culprit and there is no solution. Solution is to eliminating the other party only. So then it becomes impossible to come on the same ground, come on the common ground and resolve these. So this is the thing. So these are some challenges, institutional challenges, that your government, your social structure, your your society is not very good. You're not having good governance. You're not having equality. You're not having inclusion. All these things. So this is the institutional or systemic barriers. Then your culture is not very diverse, not caters the diversity. Okay, you're having cultural differences which are very often seen. Like we are witnessing the Manipur clashes. Then we have psychological barriers, like Jews cannot be very comfortable with Germans because they have a psychological trauma. Hitler has committed genocide against the Jews. So this is a psychological barrier. There will be this trauma, even if they're trying to talk peace with them. So these are the things. Now, talking about the role of external actors and interventions for peace building. So we have UN, we have NGOs, we have world superpowers, we have regional bodies for addressing and resolving conflicts. Okay, so all these players play their role accordingly, which are written here, but they all have some limitations as well and their criticism as well. So every on very different levels, they are playing very different roles. But what is necessary is communication. Whichever the parties are, if they are not having good uh, communication, the conflicts will never be resolved. So you need better communication. Now moving on towards theories of conflict. So first we have to understand what is conflict. Conflict is nothing but what? Nothing. Conflict is nothing but differences of opinions, differences of interests. So everyone fights for their interest. If there will be different interests, there will be conflicts. So here we will try to understand what are the reasons of conflict. So different theories gives different reasons about conflict. So we have realist theory, we have liberal theory, we have Marxist critical and psychosocial theories. So in this theory, we will just trying to understand why conflict occurs. Okay, just keep this in mind. Why occurs? What are the reasons of conflicts? Okay, in the previous unit, we were trying to understand what are the peace building approaches. How can we establish peace? But conflict cannot be, avoided. It is inevitable in nature. So it will occur. We have to understand what the different theories talks about, what are the reasons of the conflicts. So let's start with realism and liberalism. As I have told you, that whenever you see a word liberal, attach it with democracy and institutions. So what liberalism talks about, it, reasons of conflict. So liberalism says that yes, there will be conflicts, but why? Because the parties lack democracy. They lack what? Trade and institutions. So democratic peace theory says that establish democracy, promote democracy, make laws, make institutions, and there will be lesser conflicts. So what liberalism says, that only because you are having a lower degree of institutions, you have no democracy in your place, That's why you are having what? Conflicts. You have to be, rational. So be rational, make laws, promote democracy, get involved in it, and resolve the conflicts. Very simple. This is what liberalism said. What realism said. Realism is the first approach we invented. Realism is a very blunt, is very bold because it is realistic. So, what is the real nature of world? That world is selfish. We only pursue power and self-interest. There is nothing called, unity, diversity, nothing. Everyone is pursuing their own interests. So, in the same way, states are pursuing their own interests. So, if I have told you that interests are different, there will be conflicts. So, they say that conflicts are inevitable. So, the world is essentially, or naturally anarchic. There will be anarchy in the world. There cannot be a stable world order. So, what is the solution? War is natural or rational instrument of statecraft. There will be wars. Wars will be there. So you cannot, first of all, you cannot avoid wars. Be prepared for, wars. And to establish peace, establish balance of power. What is balance of power? In the current world order, whoever controls the internet is having better power. Earlier in the last century, whoever had nuclear weapon had balance of power. So if a place is having more power, you have to generate equal amount of power if you want to survive. This is basically what we might is right concept. So there is anarchy, and in the anarchy only your balance of power can save you. So India has developed nuclear weapon for balance of power, because any country can attack India. Any nuclear weapon, nuclearly equipped country can attack India. So, but India couldn't do anything if we didn't have nuclear weapon. Now we have nukes as well. So we have balance of power. No country can behave with us the way they behave with Bangladesh or Nepal or Sri Lanka or the other countries or these African countries, because we have nuclear weapon, we have balance of power, we have bargaining capacity, that if you will nuke us, we have nukes as well, we will destroy you as well. So this is the thing. But this do not talks about cooperation. This talks about wars will be there. Okay. So be prepare for wars, and also keep increasing your power. And it this theory also gives the concept of security dilemma, that China has developed nuclear weapon, then India became very vigilant that China can bomb us, so we have to develop nuclear weapons. India has developed nuclear weapons, then Pakistan became very aware that, oh, India has developed nuclear weapon, it can bomb us as well. So they have uh, by whatever means they have developed nuclear weapons as well. So this is the thing about realism, that it do not talk about peace. Peace is nothing. War is permanent, because there are selfish interest of people. They will fight, states will fight for maximizing their interest. So don't talk about peace and all. Just focus upon balance of power in in our in our daily life. We can say that, do not talk idealistic things, do not preach religion, do not uh, teach ethical values. These all are not actually working. You just have to keep increasing your power, physical power, financial power, uh, psychological powers, mental powers. You have to increase, keep increasing about all these, and then only you will have your interest fulfilled. This cooperation institution, these things will not work. They give the example of UN. Is UN working? The world is having severe wars. Russia is bombing Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting against Russia. Whatever happening in Palestine, now in Iran. Is there cooperation? Is there institution? So realistic theory gives you the real perspective of the world. That world is cruel. You have to be powerful. You have to follow the survival of the fittest rule. Otherwise, you will be eliminated. Now, what Marxism says about conflict? Why conflict occurs according to Marx or Marxism? Basically, whenever you see Marxism, think about class struggle. There are only two classes in the world, one of haves, second of have nots. One are rich, second are poor. Because we have this class division, so because of this, we have inherent inequality. And if we have inherent equality, the world will face conflict. Why? Because the rich ones, the bourgeois, will be having more and more with respect to proletariats, whose are laborers, workers, have nots. So in this case, the wealth and resource concentration is going on, which will lead to uh, to exploitation of the workers. And one day they will come together and they will start a movement against this bourgeois. They'll throw them down, and there will be a, a, a situation, a status of forever bliss, which is known as communism, according to Marxist theory. But what for our interest here is of what that the root cause of conflict is class struggle. As long as you'll be having what the two classes means, as long as there will be inequality, economic inequality, financial inequality, there will be what conflicts. So you have to uh, uh, make resources and finances equitable to everyone, give equal amount of resource and equal amount of uh, money to everyone, and there will be lesser amount of uh, you know conflicts. This is what Marxist theory says. So why Cauchy says land is the source of happiness. So many people in the world doesn't have a piece of land. How can they be happy? And on the contrary, some are acquiring hectares and hectares of land which they don't need at all. So th- that should be equally distributed amongst them who do not have. So this is the core of Marxism, or Marxist theory. Basically, eliminate the class struggle, eliminate the class division, and there will be peace in the society. Now, coming to critical theory. Critical theory talks about if conflicts are occurring, who are getting benefited from those conflicts. We The whole point of discussion of ours is how to resolve conflicts. But what if conflicts are beneficial and they are beneficial for some persons? So they will never let you resolve the conflict. This is, critical theory is complex. It has various meanings. First, it talks about, it is the criticism of Marxist theory. Second, second, school says it is the criticism of all the theories, that it criticizes Marxist theory because it only addresses only one aspect of the society. Only it talks only about economy. Marx has made man a economic man, that if he doesn't address cultures, he doesn't address values, nothing. Man is just a economic man. This is not right according to critical theory. Here, in realism, they talk only about man is selfish, man is power hungry. But is this, man has done a lot for establishing peace over the years. Otherwise we would have killed each other a long time back. But it doesn't happen that way. So we have so realism, they're criticizing realism as it is a very pessimistic approach to look into human nature. They criticize liberalism, that this is the instrument of capitalistic countries to impose their power in the different countries and make imperialism. So this is the second school of critical theory. Third school of critical theory says that the dominant theories, the dominant ideologies neutralizes what, violence and peace. So uh, there is only one thing, that you have to empower people, take it, to get away from the structures that causes conflict and operation. So this is a very confusing theory. So I recommend you to focus upon the second school, which criticizes the whole all the theories, and says that the solution, what is the solution then? Then the solution remains same. What? Free people from structures and the cause of conflict and oppression. Address the causes of conflicts and oppression and free people from them. Do not think that it is economic, or man is hungry for power, and do not think that only democracy can resolve the problems. Think in a holistic manner. So this is the critical theory according to the second school, which I have talked about. Now, what is psychosocial theory of conflict? So psychosocial theory basically talks about uh, different groups have different identities. Different identities have different interests, different politics. So the society, as a whole society, their psychological patterns are different of thinking. Let's talk about who. Let's talk about Germany. The Germany, Hitler has committed crimes against Jews. Now Jews cannot completely uh, trust the Germans or the Hitler. Why? Because they share a, a collective trauma. This collective trauma cannot help them to to trust each other. So this is the thing in psychosocial theory, that society as a whole believes that we share a trauma against a particular person, or a particular group. So it becomes difficult for that society as a whole to get indulged into the peace talks, or to take peace building measures. So this is the area of concern for them. So psychosocial theory is basically talks about trust. If you're missing trust anywhere, then the peace building becomes very difficult. So this is a kind of in this diagram, you can say, you can see that how the conflict emerge. So first of all, the conflict is in the latent state. It is not visible. Conflict gradually emerges, and it becomes a crisis, and gradually turns into war. So for resolving a conflict, we have to do ceasefire, and we have to make peace building. Why are we studying this in psychosocial theories? Because this is the way how you resolve what, uh, any kind of conflict. So to establish peace, to establish, to resolve conflicts, you have to what? You have to build trust along with peace. Without building trust, you cannot resolve the problems. So this is the thing. Now talking about what does religions say about peace. So we have different religions, like in Hinduism, they talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. They talk about Shanti. We have Shanti Sutra in Yajurved, and in Mahabharata, it is said that Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, the non-violence is the highest virtue. In Buddhism, they talk about peace comes from within. Christianity says that the peacemakers are the children of God. They are the epitome. They are very ideal. They must be promoted. Peacemakers. Islam says that whoever saves one soul, he saves the entire humanity. And if one, uh, you know, hmm, harms any soul, then it harms the whole society. Talking about Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi is known as the father of our nation, father of non-violence. So he has given the idea of ahimsa, satyagraha, and swaraj. So in ahimsa, he says that choose non-violence over violence, because that's how you can fight injustice. You cannot fight injustice with violence. It will not be sustainable. Second, his practice of satyagraha, that be non-violent but refuse to cooperate. You know that Britishers are not doing good for you. So just be non-violent and do not cooperate into their affairs. Peacefully disagree with them. And now they're talking about Swaraj. Swaraj is a self-reliant piece of land for individuals, that you have to be non-violent, you have to fulfill your own needs so that no one can exploit you. This is the thing of what Mahatma Gandhi says. Talking about Buddha gave the four noble truths, that life is suffering. Suffering arises from what? Attachment. Attachment can be destroyed, can be seized by what? Eightfold paths. He gave eightfold paths that follow these eight principles, and you will attain nirvana. Also, Buddha talks about metta. Metta is universal compassion for all beings. Even if someone is committing, violence against you, be peaceful with them. So peace begins with individual mind within. It comes from within. Then Ashoka was the great emperor who uh, patronized the Buddhist religion, and it is because of him Buddhism is all over the world right now. The best thing Buddha could give was middle path. He gave the uh, principle that avoid extremes. This is the best thing you can have. Avoid excess of everything. Be very balanced. So you do not have to be very extremely religious, although you do not have to be extremely atheist. You have to be somewhere in between. That okay, there are some religions that talks about this and that. So take out the positives and be balanced. Also, one of the very good thing about to resolve the conflict, he gave that hatred is never appeased by hatred. By non-hatred alone is the hatred appeased. Means if a person is hating someone, this this makes no sense. What, it is not productive. And if someone is hating you, do not hate back. Hatred can be only appeased by non-hatred. The way Jesus Christ said that turn your other cheek. If someone slaps you, turn the other cheek. The person will feel guilty and he'll face change of heart, and he will leave violence. So this is the thing what Christianity talks about, what Christ, Jesus Christ talk about. That first of all, that blessed are, as I have told you, that blessed are peacemakers. Peacemakers are blessed. They are children of God. Christianity talks about agape. Agape is unconditional love for us, the same as what metta is. Similar to metta is that love even your enemies, because they are not aware that they are doing wrong. But if you are aware, be aware and love them, forgive them, and this will transform your enemy. Forgiveness is the uh, underlying aspect of Christian teachings of Jesus Christ, along with the agape. So this is the thing. So in the ancient texts, Vedas talks about peace. Uh, Quran talks about peace. Holy Bible talks about peace. This is written here with the sources. Please look into it. Now, uh, let's start with peace moments. How peace moments uh, have evolved with the time. So in 20th century, we see that we face two world wars. So we have anti-war peace movement. We have seen the devastating atomic atomic bomb over Japan. So we see anti-nuclear peace movements. We have racial discrimination. So we have racial and discrimination on many levels. So we talk about civil right movements. And then we see that we do not have proper participation of women in everywhere in the world. So we see women's peace. So all these movements are having some context, having some purpose. That some are trying to, eradicate war. Some are trying to dispose the nuclear weapons. Some are trying uh, to, make the society more rightful. People empowering civil society, and some are empowering women. These are some case studies we're talking about, which we have to study. I think the lecture is getting too longer. So let's talk about the opportunities or the areas where the peace movements are going on right now. First of all, we have seen the Me Too movement recently, in I think a decade ago. Right now, we want climate activism. We want you know things to end the uh, we want we want things which can end the racial discrimination. Okay, we want cybersecurity, and we want peace initiated uh, from the places of social media. So these are the various things. These are some prominent scholars which talks about peace. John Galton is on the top of it. Now this is a summary. So peace is not just absence of war. Peace is multidimensional. It has, you know, structural and cultural aspects as well. In second unit, we try to talk about, peace building theory. So there is not one theory which can establish peace. Okay, there are various measures uh, which are subjective. So what is the requirement? We have to find out that, and accordingly we have to put the approach. There are various challenges for peace building. Means there are various sources of conflict. Then every religion talks about peace. So we have to go back and address that what religions talks about peace, and we have to address it. And now we have to explore the possibilities, that what are the areas where we can work and make more peace. So this was the lecture, and it has become very lengthy. So I tried to cover up multiple various aspects of the peace building and all. I've tried to give the brief overview, although it is not sufficient, but I tried to give it. And if you have any doubts, please let me know, and keep studying. Thank you for your time.